It's a chilly, gray, winter day outside. Let's go down below and I'll give you a tour of Starwhite below decks. I'll close up the companionway to keep a little bit of the heat down below decks here. The main salon is bright and airy, with comfortable seating for 4, although we've had as many as 8 people down here at times. There is an abundant amount of storage in and around the main salon. There are 2 lockers at the aft end of the settee. The upper one holds our autopilot and winch handles. On the outboard side of the settee, there is a center locker, and there are bookshelves on either side. Behind the backrest cushions, there is additional storage. There's a surprising amount of room in the lockers behind these backrest cushions. In the aftmost locker, which we call the goodie locker, we keep all of the basic necessities of life: cookies, candy, chips, and other junk food. All the things that would make our mothers so proud of our diet. The center 2 lockers, we keep our PFDs and our safety harnesses in. The forward locker contains our emergency signaling devices: flares, smoke, and strobes. The removable settee table does double duty as a filler, allowing us to turn the settee into a very comfortable berth. The settee backrest cushions were designed with snaps on them that allow us to snap the 2 backrests together, forming the cushion that fits on top of the filler. With the backrest cushions in place, we end up with a very comfortable berth midship. When morning arrives, it's a simple matter to unsnap the 2 backrest cushions, put them back where they belong, and store the table in the quarter berth where it's out of the way. When it's time for a sit-down meal, it's a simple process to install the table support post into the mounting bracket in the main salon or the mounting bracket out in the cockpit, and then simply putting the table onto the post. In addition to all the storage around the settee, there's even more storage underneath the seats. The forward portion of the settee is the refrigerator. It's divided into 3 compartments and has a Seafrost cold plate system installed. The hinged lid and upper compartment lift out, giving open access to the entire box. This area under the center of the settee has the compressor for the refrigerator in it, but beyond that, it's just open storage space. There are a couple of spare PFDs in there at the moment. And there is a 3rd large storage area under the aft end of the settee. Forward of the settee and the primary bulkhead on the starboard side is the head. We've hinged our head door on the aft end, which allows it to swing open and be latched off, providing some privacy for the forepeak area. Also on the head door are a couple of hooks, which is where we hang our foul weather gear, allowing it to drip into the shower pan in the head. We've tried to make the head very light and bright, with white laminate on the bulkheads and white paint on the cabin side around the porthole. The teak trim has all been stripped to bare wood and varnished with a clear semi-gloss varnish. We've installed a Levac toilet and a larger stainless steel sink. There are 2 mirrors mounted in the head. The upper mirror is also a cabinet and is mounted to be usable when standing. The lower mirror is mounted to be usable when seated. There's a handhold mounted directly in front of the toilet, which is very useful in rough conditions. Outboard behind the toilet is the toilet pump and handle. Above them, behind the louvered door, is a storage locker that also contains the toilet discharge selector valve. The V-Berth is a comfortable, bright, cozy space. There are storage shelves and gear hammocks on both the port and starboard sides, and overhead lighting that is both red for night vision and white for reading. Hull insulation keeps it warm and quiet, and 2 portholes and a large hatch provide excellent ventilation. There are a couple of small cubbies for personal items built into each corner of the V-Berth. The V-Berth has a filler piece and cushion that makes for a very comfortable berth. The V-Berth has a huge amount of storage space underneath the cushions, and we've put it to good use. Storage up here in the forward locker varies quite a bit with the seasons. Right now, it's winter. In the summertime, when the staysail is hanked on deck and the boarding ladder is up on deck, this locker sometimes is close to being completely empty. Over here on the port side, I've got a locker with a lot of spare parts in it. Over here on the starboard side, the locker isn't quite as full. I've got my shop vac stuffed in there. Ah, the chain locker, second only to the bilge in popularity. Starwhite's chain locker is a fairly good sized space for a boat this size. But like most boats, the chain locker is a fairly dank, dark, and sometimes wet space. The bottom of Starwhite's chain locker used to be wide open and drained into the area underneath the V-Berth, and from there the rest of the way back all the way to the sump at the back of the boat. That original arrangement allowed any water, dirt, or anything else that came in with the anchor rod to drain through the length of the boat. It could be somewhat melodious at times. So I glassed a base into the bottom of the locker here, and then put a through hull fitting in it, which has a hose attached to it. That hose runs all the way down through the bilge to the deep sump. That way any nasty water that comes into the chain locker here is carried aft and doesn't stink up the entire length of the boat. There's a lot of unused storage space here in the chain locker, and I'm giving some consideration to putting some sort of a a bracket of some sort along this side of the chain locker that I could store some lines and things on. This isn't the most convenient location, so it's not going to be things I want to use every day, but perhaps a spare anchor snubber. I'm not sure. Immediately aft of the V-Berth is a bank of drawers and our hanging locker. The drawer fronts are actually made out of koa wood, a bit of a departure from all of the teak and mahogany used throughout the rest of the boat. Above the bank of drawers is a shelf, and outboard behind the louvered door is additional storage space. Aft of the bank of drawers and directly across from the head door is the hanging locker. When we were rebuilding this area, we elected to go with a full-length louvered door for the hanging locker to provide the best ventilation we could get and also make access much easier. The hanging locker also has a shelf in the top of it. Starwhite's Galley is equipped with a 2-burner propane stove and a deep stainless steel sink with a freshwater foot pump. There is abundant storage in the lockers under the stove and sink. On the cabin side above the galley is a hammock for produce storage. There's an LED light and a solar vent mounted in the overhead above the galley sink. Outboard, behind the stove, we've created an 8 cubic foot dry storage locker that has top access. In addition to this, at counter level there are 2 sliding doors, one side containing dishes, the other side, again, dry storage area. The forward bulkhead in the galley has a soap dispenser, sponge holder, and a small spice rack. There are cutting boards to fit on the top of the stove and in the forward portion of the sink. There is a custom storage area for both of these cutting boards directly underneath the galley stove. There is a large locker under the galley sink that offers lots of storage for paper towels and cleaning supplies and is accessed to the galley sink through-hole fitting. Below the stove and cutting boards is the silverware and utensil drawer. Below the silverware drawer is a large divided locker that we use for storing pots and pans and other large containers. The chart table is home to our 12-volt and 120-volt electrical control panels. It's also home to our VHF base station and our VHF handheld radio. Inside the chart table, you'll find several compartments. One is full of miscellaneous cables. Another holds our binoculars. A third one has our handheld GPS, and the large compartment has our iPad and lots of charts. There's also a special holder for the ship's papers. This inboard locker, directly below the chart table, contains boat maintenance and repair materials, things like caulk, acetone, epoxy, and grease. Outboard, behind this locker, is a locker that we use for bulky items, tools, and day shapes. The storage area under this grate is my chandlery. It's full of fasteners and other spare parts. Like many boats, our quarter berth is more often used for storage than for sleeping. But Starwhite has a very special feature in our quarter berth. We have doors in the side of the quarter berth. These side doors to the engine room really make working on the engine or anything in the engine room a whole lot easier. And they just simply pop in and out. They're held on with a little swivel lock, but they are a huge improvement. The area under the head of the quarter berth contains our fuel tank and our custom-made dipstick. And the most below deck of spaces, the engine room. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the tour. Thanks for watching.